Alright guys, so in this one I'm going to show you how to make punchier Reeses that don't muddy your mix, okay? So here I've got a classic Reese sound that I've just made in phase plant. And you can take a look on the analyzer here, how it looks on the spectrum. Okay, so just a little Reese I quickly whipped up in phase plant, and it sounds like this in the beat. Now I haven't done any side chaining or anything like that yet. All I'm going to talk about today is your sound design of your Reese and how you can make it a little bit less muddy so it's going to fit into a mix easier, you know? And so the problem with the Reese is it's a very frequency hogging sound, especially in the low end and the mid range. If you look here again, you know, just pay attention to the front frequencies, which are the... Actually, let me just turn these off. And then it's actually the back ones, my mistake. So this is actually just the main, you know, stereo, you know, the whole frequencies. So what you've got in the Reese is you've got a full low end, it's got loads of low mids, it's got loads of mid-range in as well. And yeah, the problem is it just hogs so much of the spectrum. So how to make your Reese not muddy your mix is you need to make it more of a defined shape by basically taking some elements out of the spectrum, you know? So that's why the best tool to use is notch filtering, because what it allows you to do is reshape the Reese to have a bit less content in certain pockets, so there's a bit more space in the overall headroom of the whole track, you know? So all we can do with the Reese, I designed it basically just having two saw waves detuned with a sine wave underneath, kind of doing the sub bass, a touch of noise on top. All of the saw waves have been filtered here. So I filtered off all the saw waves quite sort of low, actually, about 3K. Then I've added some noise on top. Then I've sort of just distorted it all, added a bit of convolution reverb, a bit of comb filtering for a bit of tonal shifting and stereo effect. And then I've put a tiny bit of ring mod noise, so a bit more high end back in. Bit of phase distortion for extra tonality and just distorting it further. And again, another distortion saturation mode just to keep sort of boosting the sound. So that's where I got to so far, but I left out intentionally any notch filtering, so we can do it together now. So we can actually we can use a couple of different methods. So we could firstly use just a normal filter. So obviously if you do this already, I've got a little randomizer set up here that I've put on a few elements already, but I could use that on here on the cutoff. And so obviously here I'm taking out a higher kind of range around 500 or 600 hertz, but it sounds good, right? It gives you that classic neurofunk Reese sound as well. So you can really see the dip here. So that's quite extreme, but I might leave that in because it kind of sounds good, you know? But if I wanted it to be less extreme, I could use this setting here, and it's just a notch filter where I can control how much I want to notch out. So maybe let's do that actually, because it's a bit more controlled rather than just taking everything out, you know? So that's a subtle way where you still retained the main kind of part to the full Reese you had before, but you've begun to shape it and take some content out, you know? So let's look again here. And by having it move around, it's a bit nicer as well, because you get a bit of the mid-range frequencies every so often, you know? So, but let's twist that around a little bit to the left. But already now, if we check it in our drums, if I take that off, can you hear how much more defined it is now? Now you could argue that we've EQ'd out the mud, but it wasn't necessarily muddy to begin with. It's more the fact that we've just given it more of a shape. We've taken out some frequencies where there's so many in the mid-range, and that's just allowed the whole track to have more headroom and breathe more. So it's not necessarily about this sort of religious motive of you have to remove the mud from everything. It's not really about that. It's more just about creating more definition and giving the whole headroom a bit more space by just selectively taking out some frequencies using notch filtering, you know? So let's go a step further and do another one. And this time on Faceplant we have the beautiful nonlinear filter, which has really nice shapes. Because you can just scroll through the different colors here. And sometimes, again, here the notch can be too much. But if you go onto the flat mode here, a lot of the colors, when you've turned up the drive, they'll actually give you some sort of notch like frequency cuts. You know, you can see here it sort of notches out quite a lot around here. So if we go through again the colors now. So for example, this warm one is quite controlled. It's obviously, it kind of looks a little bit like our earlier shape, but a bit wider, you know. But it has got these sort of jagged edges where it's adding in a bit of color as well. And I could sort of control the Q here as well. So again, we could randomize that. We can maybe track this one to go the other way, the opposite way to the top filter. And if we listen to it with our drums as well, we can kind of hear when we've given the drums a bit more breathing room, when we've knocked out the right kind of frequencies of the Reese, you know? Now, if we go back and tone these up, we could turn the whole lane off here, for example. Let's just dial in our settings a little bit more, just kind of using our ears. So we've taken out quite a lot of frequencies now, and there's a bit of high end. We could sort of bring up the perceived volume of the Reese without really adding too much mid-range in again, just by boosting the high end here. And yeah, you can kind of tell just by having the lane off now. You know, if you listen to the Reese on its own, like, it does sound nice how full it is on its own, you know? But in the context of a busy mixdown with a lot of drums and things, it doesn't quite work as well as if we had this lane switched on. Granted, the tonality and the character of the Reese do change a bit, because it's sort of become a bit more, you've got a bit more focus on the low end of the Reese now, where you've taken out some sort of mids as well, you know? So it has like a deeper, more grittier, growling kind of element to it. But for me, that actually sounds nicer as well. It sounds a bit darker. So it's slightly changed the character of the Reese, but what it's done is it's shaped it. You take a look on the difference when the filters are on, and if we turn them off again, see all that mid-range that we've sort of taken out, you know, a fair chunk of. And that's given us more space in the mix, you know. And so again, I want to reiterate, you know, it's not that I have to do that to remove the mud. It's just that when you go for that technique of using notch filters to dip out certain frequencies and give the Reese more of a shape, so it's not it's not completely full, and it does have like yeah, some frequencies taken out. Like, that's just naturally going to give you more space in your mix, you know, and you can hear the drums. You can hear it just works nicer with the drums, even without any mix down work. You know, so again, it changed the character of the Reese a bit. You know, it made it a bit darker, a bit more focused in the low end. We did remove quite a lot of mid-range. You could do it a little more subtly as well if you want. We could make it even more subtle. You know, the balance is really up to you, but the point is that you start to do some subtle, even if it's really, really subtle, you start to shape your Reese and define it by just eliminating some of the frequencies across the range where it's originally been designed to be completely full on, you know? Just one more time, if we take that lane off again, and you can really see how full on it is. It really hogs the whole spectrum, you know? So just even with a bit of subtle notch filtering, there are some more spaces now for the rest of the mix to breathe, and it just shapes the Reese to give the whole headroom a bit more space, you know? So then after that, obviously you want to go into doing your side chaining with your kick and your snare and that kind of stuff, you know, which I haven't done in this tutorial. I just want to show you a way that during the sound design, whether it's in the synth you're using itself or whether you do it afterwards with some, you know, filter plugins, even if you go really, really subtle, to put in those little notches, you know, around the mid-range, you'll free up a bit of extra room in the headroom of your whole track, so that the Reese won't be completely muddying everything up by just hogging all of the mid-range, you know? So a little bit of that gets the Reese to have a bit more of a defined shape, and you're just carving out some little pockets of space for the whole mix to breathe a bit more, you know? So that's it for today. Hope that was helpful to you guys. Thanks a lot for all your support on the channel. Make sure you leave a comment down below, really helps me out. Hit the like button, it's good for the algorithm. I want to get this, you know, content out to more people to help people, you know, achieve their goals of producing more high quality music, and that's information that I like to share, you know? So thanks a lot for all your support. Come along and join me on Patreon if you want to help me out as well. The links are down in my video description for that, and I've got one-on-one lessons available, mixing and mastering work as well, and preset packs for Serum, Phase Plant, Vital and Current on my website. That's it for me today. More from me very soon. Much love.